I want to talk to you about three different types of divers I met this last St. Patty's Day weekend diving at a quarry in Ohio. And if you happen to be one of these divers, I am not trying to make fun of you. That is not the purpose of this channel. I will not name you by names. This is simply to make a video to shed some light on how I interact with people like this, and also to give you guys a platform to comment and let me know how you interact with people like this. This can be a learning tool for all of us. It definitely was for me. So let's get started. So I pulled up to the quarry this last St. Patty's Day weekend with all of my gear in my little clown car. I start unloading my stuff on the table on the deep side of the quarry. For those of you that have not been to Gilboa Quarry in Ottawa, Ohio, it's split up into two sections. So the one section is for recreational divers. You can get off the dock there and it goes to about 20 feet, gradually goes down deeper over a wall, which drops down to 120 plus feet. Or you can get in on the deep side, and it's definitely more technical, more advanced. You jump in the water, you can go right down to 120 plus feet like that. So a lot of the technical divers like to get in on the deep side just because we can experience what it's like to dive, let's say, the Great Lakes, and it's good training grounds for us. That doesn't mean that I don't dive on the shallow side many times. I love both. I enjoy diving all types of dives. This particular day, I was diving on the deep side. So I start to unload my gear and set it on the table on the deep side. And there was a young lady that was sitting on the table, and I didn't say anything. I just started putting my gear down. And she wasn't moving at first, and then she started realizing that she was kind of crowding my space that I needed. So she asked if I needed her to move, and I asked her kindly if she could, and she did. I could tell she kind of had a little bit of an attitude with me. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything. I am an employee of the quarry, or I'm staff, I should say, at the quarry. I very kindly start asking them about what their dive plans were because I noticed they were diving recreational style stuff, although they did have dry suits on. The water was pretty cold, so that's highly recommended this time of year. I noticed that this one particular girl was getting bristly right off the bat. And she had to let me know that she's a PADI master diver and she has her cert card book with all her certifications. And she let me know who her instructor was. And she was very egotistical right off the bat. So I just smiled and was just asking some basic questions. The rest of the group, they were amazing. Kind people. There was another girl there, just the nicest people in the world. Then there was this other guy that was to my right, and he was running around like a crazy person trying to get all his gear together. And I could just tell he was flustered and frustrated. Most of the group that he was with, they were very understanding and just said, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get in when we get in. Just take it easy, get your stuff together. And they were very kind to him. This one girl, she wasn't saying much. I could tell she looked frustrated at least. So I'm getting my stuff together. We're getting ready to get in the water. We have a technical dive planned for some training. I was going to get some footage underwater for my channel for this video that we're making right now. And I had some plans that day that I wanted to accomplish. While I was trying to get my stuff on and I started making my way down to the water, I noticed that these people are just crowding the stairs to get into the water. They got stuff everywhere. There is certain proper etiquette that we ask people on the deep side, for instance. Just don't leave your stuff around because when we have all this technical gear on, it's very hard for us to wait to get in the water. We kind of have to get in quick and we don't want to be tripping on stuff. Well, this one girl that I'm going to be talking to you about today, she was in the middle, right where I needed to get in as I was getting in the water. And I kind of just stood there and she was talking and talking and talking. And she said, oh, do I need to get out of your way? And I asked her kindly if she could because I was starting to sweat. I was panicking a little bit, getting overheated and my back was hurting. So finally, she let me in the water. I'm getting myself together. Do a little pre-breathe on my rebreather, go through my checklist and just making sure everything is good to go. I noticed they were waiting for that one guy to get ready. They were just taking forever to get in the water, which is fine. It happens sometimes. I've been there many times. I could hear this one girl, she was talking and she was telling them what to do. And she just had a certain way about her that just rubbed me the wrong way. So anyways, I went and did my dive. I think I did like a 45-minute first dive. And we get out of the water. I notice that they're getting out of the water right after me. So they come up. I asked them, hey, how did the dive go? One girl, she didn't say much, the rude one. Then there was another girl, very kind. And she was honest. She said it didn't go so good. The guy that got in the water with us had some trouble. So she told me a little bit about it. Apparently this guy drove hours to get to the quarry and his dive buddies bailed on him. So he was there alone. And he asked this group, hey, can I get in the water with you? They were kind enough to let him do that. By the way, good for you. Good for you. Now, sometimes that doesn't go so hot. And I guess on this particular dive, it didn't go so hot for them. He was diving a configuration that he wasn't used to. It was a quarry that he never dove in. So he had a bunch of gear that was brand new. I always highly recommend that you don't do a pinnacle dive or a dive that you're not used to, especially in a location you're not used to, with new gear. Go on the shallow side. Try it out first. Make sure everything's good, and then gradually work your way over to the other side. This guy had all the right gear. He just didn't have the experience using it. He may have had all the certifications that he needed. I don't know. But I know that he definitely wasn't comfortable because he was adding weight, for instance, to his high-pressure steel 100 doubles, which he definitely didn't need to do. He added 16 or 18 pounds of weight, I was told. And apparently when he got in the water, he started sinking rapidly. What I took from the conversation, the one girl, she kind of did her dive with the other guys, and I don't really think she paid much attention to this diver who was struggling. But the other girl, what a nice person. She was worried about this guy. She stuck with him. She dove with him. She, I think, put herself a little bit at risk just to make sure this guy got back safely. So good for you for being that type of diver to make sure this guy was okay. I think that's awesome. This other girl, though, and she has to let me know what she knows and all the cert cards that she has. And it was just frustrating dealing with somebody like that. I guarantee I had more dives at that quarry than she had. I had higher certification than she had. It doesn't matter what your certification is. I know divers that have less certification than I have, and they're phenomenal, maybe better than I am. I am not the best diver in the world. I'm learning every day. You'll see times in my videos where I'm sure you could look at me and say, oh, he could do that better. Please let me know. Comment. Tell me. That's good. I want to learn. I want to grow. But a person like her, she couldn't be told anything. Anything that was said, she one-upped. She had a reason. She had an explanation. I have such a hard time with people like that. Then you have this guy who drove 8 hours to come dive with a bunch of guys that bailed on him, humbled himself to go and ask this group, can I dive with you? Now, there are some things that he did that I don't recommend you do. I ended up talking to him after his dive, found out that he was overweighted. He was diving a harness with D-rings that were improperly placed, and he had equipment that he just never dove on before. He asked if I could get in the water with him. I couldn't because I had some dives planned that I wouldn't be comfortable taking him on. Listen, plan your dives, dive your plan. I had my dives planned for that day. I had my gas all ready. I had everything ready to go. So it just wasn't going to work that time. In the future, I would definitely dive with the guy. No problem at all. I've done it many, many times before, and I'll continue to do that with newer divers or guys that want to learn. He took my recommendations to heart, and he went over on the shallow side, and he ended up taking off that weight. He ended up changing his D-rings and changing his setup a little bit based on the recommendations that I gave him, and guess what? He told me he had a good dive. It worked out good for him. So this guy who had the equipment, he just needed to be guided. He listened. I appreciated that so much. And then you had this girl who was the cert card collector who you couldn't talk to. She had to one-up everybody. Then you had this third girl, this third person that I highly respect. You know what? She took this guy under her wing. She tried to help him out. She wasn't egotistical about it at all. Be like that girl. Don't be like the other girl. How do I deal with people like this? Well, the second that I realize that you're not going to listen, the second that I realize that you're going to one-up me or you're going to name drop or you're going to do all this stuff, I'm just not going to talk to you. It's not worth it to me. But if you're like the other girl, I love diving with people like that. That makes a good dive buddy. Somebody who's willing to learn, somebody who's willing to help, somebody who's attentive to their dive buddy. I think that's great. I'll dive with the guy who drove 8 hours. I love people like that. Why? Because he was trying to be better. He listened. He wasn't too cocky to take some constructive criticism, take it to heart, change, and be better. So my recommendation is when you deal with people like that, just don't waste your time on the negativity. Don't waste your time on that type of person. Spend your time on people that want to dive with you, people that are willing to learn. That's the kind of people that we need to put our focus and energy on and spend time with. If not, it gets really discouraging really quick. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for future notifications. Also, comment, let me know. Have you dove with people like this? What was your interaction like? What did you do or what do you do when you deal with these cert card collecting, egotistical style people? Dive safe. I'll see you in the water. By the way, click on one of these videos. I think you'll find them interesting.